The sound of shattering glass jolted me from my daydream. I stared at the broken vase on the marble floor, water and lilies scattered around my feet. My hands trembled as I bent to clean up the mess, my mind racing with the conversation I'd overheard just moments ago. "Rodney, darling," I'd cooed into the phone earlier. "I was thinking we could have a nice dinner tonight. I'll make your favorite." "Not tonight, Jenna." He'd cut me off. His voice clipped. "I've got a late meeting. Don't wait up." I'd frowned, about to protest when I heard a woman's muffled laughter in the background. My blood ran cold as Rodney quickly ended the call. Now, as I swept up the broken pieces of porcelain, I couldn't shake the sinking feeling in my gut. After giving up my high-powered career to be the perfect wife Rodney wanted, was this how he repaid me? The doorbell rang, startling me from my spiraling thoughts. I wiped my hands on my apron and hurried to answer it. "Mom?" I blinked in surprise at the sight of my mother, Amelia, standing on the porch. She raised an eyebrow. "Well, aren't you going to invite me in?" I stepped aside, allowing her to sweep past me into the foyer. Her sharp eyes took in the shattered vase and my disheveled appearance. "What's wrong, Jenna?" she asked, her tone softening. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I hesitated, unsure how to voice my suspicions. It's Rodney," I finally managed. "I think he might be—" The words caught in my throat, but Mom's eyes narrowed in understanding. "Cheating?" she finished for me. I nodded, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. Mom's lips thinned into a hard line. "That bastard," she muttered. "I never liked him, you know. Always thought he was too slick for his own good." "Mom," I protested weakly, "we don't know for sure." "Oh, please," she scoffed. "A woman knows these things, Jenna. You're not stupid. What did you hear?" I recounted the phone call, my suspicions growing with each word. Mom listened intently, her expression darkening. "Well," she said when I finished, "there's only one thing to do now." "What's that?" I asked, dreading her answer. "We catch him red-handed," she declared, a glint of determination in her eye. "No son-in-law of mine is going to make a fool of my daughter." I felt a flicker of hope at her words. "But how?" Mom's smile was positively wicked. "Leave that to me, dear. I didn't spend 40 years married to your father without learning a thing or two about men and their indiscretions." Just then my phone buzzed with a text from Rodney. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up." I showed it to Mom, my heart sinking. She read it quickly, then looked up at me with fire in her eyes. "Perfect," she said. "We start tonight." As we began to plot, I felt a strange mix of excitement and dread. Was I really ready to uncover the truth about my marriage? And if Rodney was cheating, what would I do? The sound of a car pulling into the driveway interrupted our scheming. Mom and I exchanged a panicked look. "Rodney's home early," I whispered. Mom squeezed my hand. "Remember, act natural. We'll figure this out together." As the key turned in the lock, I took a deep breath and plastered on a smile. Whatever happened next, I knew one thing for certain. My life was about to change forever. I drummed my fingers on the steering wheel. My nerves frayed as I pulled into the parking lot of Hawkeye Investigations. The neon sign flickered ominously in the twilight, matching the churning in my stomach. "You're doing the right thing, Jenna," I muttered to myself, gathering the courage to step out of the car. The bell above the door jingled as I entered the dingy office. A grizzled man with a 5 o'clock shadow looked up from his desk, eyeing me warily. "Can I help you, ma'am?" I swallowed hard. I need to hire a private investigator." He gestured to the chair across from him. As I sat, he introduced himself as Frank Hawkins. "So what seems to be the problem?" he asked, leaning back in his creaky chair. I took a deep breath. "I think my husband is cheating on me." Frank's expression didn't change as he pulled out a notepad. "Tell me everything." As I recounted the suspicious phone calls, late nights at the office, and the woman's laughter I'd overheard, Frank jotted down notes. When I finished, he looked up at me with a grim expression. "I'll take the case, Mrs. Lane, but I have to warn you, you might not like what I find." I nodded, my throat tight. I need to know the truth. After discussing rates and logistics, I left the office feeling both relieved and terrified. As I drove home, my phone buzzed with a text from Rodney. "Great news. Found the perfect house. Can't wait to show you tomorrow." My heart sank. How could he be planning our future while potentially destroying our marriage? The next day, Rodney practically bounced with excitement as we pulled up to a charming 2-story home in an up-and-coming neighborhood. "What do you think?" he asked, grinning like a schoolboy. I forced a smile. "It's lovely, dear." As we toured the house, Rodney rattled off its features: gleaming hardwood floors, a gourmet kitchen, a spacious master suite. But all I could think about was whether he planned to bring his mistress here. "We could start a family in this house," Rodney said softly, wrapping his arms around me from behind. I stiffened, guilt and anger warring inside me. "About that," I began, turning to face him, "I think we should see a fertility specialist before we make any big decisions." Rodney's brow furrowed. "Why? We're both young and healthy." It's been a while, and nothing's happened," I explained, hating the lie but needing answers. "I want to make sure everything's okay." He hesitated, then nodded. "All right, if it'll make you feel better." As we left the house, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Frank. "Got some preliminary info. Meet tomorrow?" My stomach clenched. "Everything okay?" Rodney asked, noticing my expression. I plastered on a smile. "Just Mom checking in. So about this house." We spent the drive home discussing finances, with Rodney assuring me we could afford it with the savings I'd been squirreling away. Little did he know, those savings might soon become my lifeline. That night, as Rodney slept peacefully beside me, I lay awake, my mind racing. What would Frank's investigation reveal? And if Rodney was cheating, could I really go through with buying this house, knowing our marriage was built on lies? Just before dawn, I made a decision. I'd go through with the house purchase. It was a solid investment, affair or no affair. But I'd also start preparing for the worst. As the first rays of sunlight peeked through the curtains, I slipped out of bed and headed to the home office. It was time to dust off my old resume and see what opportunities might be out there for an ex-corporate powerhouse turned housewife. Whatever happened next, I'd be ready. Rodney Lane might think he held all the cards, but he was about to learn that his perfect little housewife had a few tricks up her sleeve. The sterile smell of the fertility clinic made my stomach churn as Rodney and I sat in uncomfortable silence, waiting for Dr. Patel to return with our test results. I glanced at Rodney, noticing the sheen of sweat on his forehead. Was it nerves about the results or guilt over his suspected affair? "Mr. and Mrs. Lane?" Dr. Patel's voice startled us both. She entered, a somber expression on her face. My heart plummeted. "I'm afraid I have some difficult news," she began, her voice gentle. "Based on our tests, it appears that conceiving naturally will be extremely challenging for you." I felt the air leave my lungs. Despite my suspicions about Rodney, a part of me had still dreamed of having a family with him. "What's the issue?" Rodney asked, his voice strained. Dr. Patel hesitated, then looked directly at Rodney. "The problem lies with you, Mr. Lane. Your sperm count is extremely low and motility is poor. It's highly unlikely you'll be able to father children without significant medical intervention." The silence that followed was deafening. I watched Rodney's face crumple, a mix of shock and devastation etched into every line. For a moment, I forgot about my anger and suspicion, reaching out to squeeze his hand. "There are options," Dr. Rao Patel continued, outlining various fertility treatments and their success rates. But I barely heard her. My mind was racing. If Rodney couldn't father children, then how? "We'll need some time to process this," I heard myself say, standing abruptly. "Thank you, doctor." The drive home was tense, Rodney gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. When we finally pulled into our driveway, he turned to me, his eyes red-rimmed. "Jenna, I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I know how much you wanted children." I swallowed hard, torn between comforting him and confronting him. "It's not your fault, Rodney. These things happen." He nodded, then surprised me by pulling me into a fierce hug. "I love you," he murmured into my hair. "We'll get through this together." For a moment, I let myself believe him, but as we entered the house, reality came crashing back. The private investigator's preliminary report, the suspicious phone calls, the late nights at the office, it all pointed to an affair. And now, with this new information, "I need some air," I mumbled, heading for the back porch. Once outside, I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and dialed my mother. "Mom?" I whispered when she answered. "I need you." An hour later, I sat at my mother's kitchen table, a cup of tea growing cold in front of me, as I recounted everything. The fertility clinic results, my suspicions about Rodney's affair, and the gnawing fear that had taken root in my gut. "Oh, sweetheart," Mom sighed, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "I'm so sorry you're going through this." "What do I do, Mom?" I asked, feeling lost. "If Rodney can't have children and he's having an affair—" Mom's eyes narrowed. "You think this other woman might be pregnant?" The possibility hung in the air between us, heavy and suffocating. I nodded, unable to voice the fear aloud. "Listen to me, Jenna," Mom said, her voice firm. "You need to get all the facts before you do anything rash. Wait for the full report from the investigator. And in the meantime, keep your eyes and ears open." I nodded, feeling a renewed sense of determination. "You're right. I need to be smart about this." As I drove home that evening, my mind was clearer than it had been in weeks. I'd play the role of the supportive wife, comforting Rodney through this fertility crisis. But behind the scenes, I'd be gathering evidence, preparing for whatever bombshell might be coming my way. Pulling into the driveway, I noticed Rodney's car was gone. A text message blinked on my phone. "Working late, don't wait up." I smiled grimly. Game on, Rodney. Game on. The manila envelope sat on my kitchen table like a ticking time bomb. Frank Hawkins had called earlier, his gruff voice tinged with sympathy. "Got the full report, Mrs. Lane. It's, well, you should see for yourself." My hands trembled as I reached for the envelope. Taking a deep breath, I pulled out the contents, a stack of photos and a detailed written report. My heart pounded as I flipped through the images. Rodney, arm around a young blonde woman outside a cozy Italian restaurant. Rodney and the same woman kissing passionately in a park. Rodney helping her into his car, his hand lingering on her lower back. I felt bile rise in my throat as I scanned the report. The woman's name was Carla Thompson, 28 years old, a junior executive at Rodney's company. They'd been meeting regularly for months, often during late nights at the office or business trips. The world spun around me as the full weight of Rodney's betrayal crashed down. I stumbled to the bathroom, barely making it before I emptied the contents of my stomach. As I rinsed my mouth, I caught sight of my reflection. Pale, shaken, eyes brimming with unshed tears. "No," I said firmly to my reflection. "You will not break for him." I marched back to the kitchen, snatching up my phone to call Mom. She answered on the first ring. "It's true," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. The investigator confirmed everything. Mom's sharp intake of breath crackled through the line. "Oh, Jenna, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. What are you going to do?" I paused, considering. "I'm going to divorce him, Mom, but first, I need to be smart about this." We talked strategy for the next hour. By the time we hung up, I had a plan forming. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Rodney. "Heading out for a business trip. Back in 3 days. Love you?" I snorted. Business trip, indeed. More like a romantic getaway with his mistress. But this time, his lie was exactly what I needed. Over the next 3 days, I was a whirlwind of activity. I contacted a divorce lawyer, gathering all our financial documents. I reached out to old colleagues, subtly putting out feelers for job opportunities, and I started packing, carefully selecting the items that meant the most to me. On the third day, as I was sorting through some old photos, I came across our wedding album. Tears pricked my eyes as I flipped through the pages, remembering the hope and love I'd felt that day. How could Rodney throw all of this away? The sound of a car in the driveway jolted me from my reverie. Rodney was home early. Panic surged through me as I scrambled to hide the evidence of my plans. "Jenna?" Rodney called as he entered the house. "I'm home." I plastered on a smile and went to greet him. "Welcome back, honey. How was your trip?" Rodney's eyes darted away guiltily. "Oh, you know, same old boring meetings." As he rambled on about fictitious client dinners, I studied him. The man I'd loved, the man I'd given up my career for, he was a stranger to me now. "Actually, Rodney," I interrupted, my heart pounding. "We need to talk." He frowned, noticing my serious tone. "What's wrong?" A deep breath, steeling myself for the confrontation to come. "I know about Carla," I said quietly. Rodney's face drained of color. "Jenna, I can explain," but I held up a hand, silencing him. "Save it. I want a divorce." The words hung in the air between us, heavy with finality. As I watched shock and panic flicker across Rodney's face, I felt a strange sense of calm settle over me. The worst had happened, and I was still standing. Whatever came next, I was ready to face it head on. My hands shook as I smoothed down my blazer, staring at my reflection in the mirror. It had been years since I'd worn anything but comfortable housewife attire. The woman looking back at me was a stranger, determined, fierce, ready to reclaim her life. "You've got this, Jenna," I whispered to myself, grabbing my portfolio and heading out the door. The small accounting firm, Greenwood & Associates, was a far cry from my former corporate glory days. But it was a start. As I sat in the waiting room, my mind raced with a mixture of excitement and terror. Could I really do this? Jump back into the workforce after years of being a housewife? "Mrs. Lane?" A kind-faced woman appeared. "Mr. Greenwood will see you now." The interview was a blur of questions about my past experience, my skills, and the gap in my resume. I explained my situation as diplomatically as possible, leaving out the sordid details of Rodney's betrayal. "Well, Mrs. Lane," Mr. Greenwood said, leaning back in his chair, "your experience is impressive, but I'll be honest, that gap in your employment is concerning." My heart sank, but I refused to give up. "Mr. Greenwood, I understand your concern, but I can assure you my skills haven't diminished. In fact, managing a household budget and investments has only sharpened my financial acumen. Give me a chance, and I'll prove my worth." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, Mrs. Lane, we'll start you on a probationary period. Welcome to the team." Relief and joy washed over me as I shook his hand. "Thank you, sir. You won't regret this." As I left the office, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Rodney. "Where are you? We need to talk about the divorce." Reality came crashing back. I had a job now, but I was still married to a cheater, still living in our shared home. It was time to make my final move. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing with plans. When I arrived, Rodney was waiting, his face a mask of false contrition. "Jenna, please," he began. "Can't we work this out? I made a mistake, but I love you." I held up a hand, silencing him. "Save it, Rodney. I'm done listening to your lies." His expression hardened. "Fine. If that's how you want to play it, we'll let the lawyers handle everything. But don't expect to get much in the settlement. You haven't worked in years, remember?" A small, satisfied smile played at my lips. "Actually, Rodney, I just got a job. And as for the settlement, I think you'll find I'm entitled to quite a bit." The color drained from his face. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the savings I've been managing, the investments I've made. Oh, and let's not forget about our new house. I think I'll be keeping that." Rodney sputtered, his composure cracking. "You can't do this." "Watch me," I said, my voice steel. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some packing to do." I brushed past him, heading upstairs to our bedroom. As I pulled out my suitcases, a strange mix of emotions washed over me. Grief for the life I was leaving behind, excitement for the future ahead, and a burning desire for justice. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my mother. "How did it go, sweetheart?" I took a deep breath, looking around the room that had been my prison for so long. "It's done, Mom. I got the job and I'm leaving Rodney tonight." There was a pause, then Mom's voice came through, filled with pride and determination. "That's my girl. I'm on my way to help you pack. It's time to start your new life, Jenna." As I hung up, I caught sight of myself in the mirror again. This time, I recognized the woman staring back at me. Strong, resilient, ready to face whatever came next. Let Rodney have his affair. I had a whole new life waiting for me, and I was ready to seize it with both hands. The front door slammed open, jolting me from my packing. Rodney's voice boomed through the house. "Jenna, where are you?" I froze, my heart pounding. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I was meant to be gone before he returned from his business trip. Steeling myself, I descended the stairs. The sight that greeted me in the living room knocked the wind out of me. Rodney stood there, his arm wrapped possessively around a young blonde woman. Carla, I presumed. Her hand rested on a slightly swollen belly. "Well, well," Rodney sneered. "Looks like the little housewife is trying to run away." I straightened my spine, refusing to be intimidated. "I'm not running, Rodney. I'm leaving. There's a difference." Carla giggled, the sound grating on my nerves. "Oh, honey," she cooed. "Did you really think you could just walk away after everything Rodney's done for you?" Rage bubbled up inside me. "Everything he's done for me? You mean like cheating on me? Lying to me? Making me give up my career?" Rodney's face darkened. "That's enough, Jenna. We're here to settle this like adults. I want a divorce." The words hung in the air, even though I'd been expecting them. "Fine," I said. my voice steadier than I felt. Let's talk terms. Rodney's lips curled into a smug smile. It's simple. You'll get a modest alimony. After all, I've been the breadwinner all these years. You should be grateful for anything you get. I bit back a laugh. If only he knew. Oh, and one more thing, Carla chimed in, her hand caressing her belly. We'll be needing the house. For the baby, you understand. The room spun around me. A baby. The one thing Rodney and I could never have. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. You can't be serious, I whispered. Rodney shrugged. It is what it is, Jenna. Carla and I are starting a family. You had your chance. Something inside me snapped. Years of pent-up frustration, anger, and hurt came pouring out. My chance? You mean in the years I spent supporting you, managing our home, investing our money? The career I gave up because you insisted on having a traditional wife? And now you waltz in here with your pregnant mistress and expect me to just roll over? Rodney's face flushed with anger. Watch it, Jenna. Remember who holds the purse strings here. I laughed then, a sharp, bitter sound. Oh, Rodney, you have no idea, do you? Confusion flickered across his face. What are you talking about? I took a deep breath, savoring the moment. I'm talking about the fact that I've been managing our finances for years. Those investments you never bothered to look at, they've tripled in value. That little savings account, it's not so little anymore. Rodney's jaw dropped. Carla looked between us, her smug expression faltering. And as for the house, I continued, I think you'll find that I'm entitled to half of everything, including that. So no, you won't be moving your little mistress in here. You're bluffing, Rodney sputtered. I smiled, feeling a surge of power. Am I? Why don't we let the lawyers sort it out? I'm sure they'll be very interested in how you've been misappropriating company funds to finance your affair. The color drained from Rodney's face. You wouldn't dare. Try me, I said, my voice steel. For a moment we stood there, the air crackling with tension. Then Rodney grabbed Carla's arm. We're leaving. This isn't over, Jenna. As the door slammed behind them, I sank onto the couch, my legs shaking. I'd done it. I'd stood up to Rodney, to Carla, to the life that had been suffocating me for years. But as the adrenaline faded, fear crept in. Rodney wouldn't go down without a fight. And now, with a baby on the way, the stakes were higher than ever. I reached for my phone, dialing my mother's number. Mom, I said when she answered, my voice breaking. I need your help. It's time to finish this. The conference room felt suffocating as I sat across from Rodney and his shark of a lawyer. My own attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Gloria, sat beside me, her presence a comforting anchor in the storm. Let's get this over with, Rodney growled, his eyes never meeting mine. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the battle ahead. Fine. Let's talk about the house first. Rodney's lawyer leaned forward, a predatory gleam in his eye. Mr. Lane is willing to be generous. He'll allow you to stay in the house for 6 months. Get back on your feet. I couldn't help but laugh, the sound brittle and harsh. Get back on my feet. That's rich coming from you, Rodney. Tell me, how's Carla enjoying my home? Rodney's face flushed red. Leave her out of this. Gentlemen, Gloria interjected smoothly. Let's focus on the facts. The house was purchased with joint funds, and Mrs. Lane has been managing the household finances. She's entitled to her fair share. Rodney's lawyer scoffed. Fair share? She hasn't worked in years. What could she possibly contribute? I felt a surge of anger, but Gloria's hand on my arm kept me grounded. Actually, she said, sliding a folder across the table, Mrs. Lane has been quite busy. These are records of all the investments and savings she's managed over the years. The room fell silent as Rodney and his lawyer pored over the documents. I watched Rodney's face pale as he realized just how much I'd been doing behind the scenes. This can't be right, he stammered. Oh, it's right, I said, my voice steady. And there's more. I want the house, Rodney, not just for 6 months, for good. His head snapped up, eyes blazing. You can't be serious. What about Carla? The baby? The mention of their child sent a sharp pain through my heart. But I pushed it aside. Your infidelity and your new family are not my concern. I've spent years investing in our future, and I'm not walking away with nothing. Rodney's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear, but Rodney waved him off. He spat. Take the damn house, but don't think you're getting anything else. I exchanged a glance with Gloria, who nodded encouragingly. Actually, Rodney, there's one more thing. I want half of everything. including your company stocks. The color drained from Rodney's face. You can't touch those. They're in my name. Gloria cleared her throat. Actually, Mr. Lane, given the length of your marriage and Mrs. Lane's contributions to the household, she's entitled to an equitable distribution of all marital assets, including your stocks. Rodney leapt to his feet, his chair clattering to the floor. This is insane. I won't let you ruin me. I stood slowly, meeting his gaze. Ruin you? Like you ruined our marriage? Our future? Face it, Rodney. You underestimated me, and now you're paying the price. For a moment, I thought he might lunge across the table at me, but then something in his eyes changed. The fight drained out of him, replaced by a cold, calculating look that sent chills down my spine. You want to play hardball, Jenna? Fine, but remember, I know things about you, too. Things that could make your life very difficult. My heart raced, but I refused to show fear. Is that a threat, Rodney? He smiled, a cruel twist of his lips. Let's call it a promise. You push me too far, and I'll make sure you regret it. As Rodney stormed out of the room, his lawyer scrambling to follow, I sank back into my chair, suddenly exhausted. Gloria squeezed my shoulder reassuringly. You did well, Jenna. But this isn't over yet. Are you ready for what comes next? I closed my eyes, thinking of everything I'd been through, everything still to come. When I opened them again, I felt a new resolve stealing my spine. I'm ready, I said. Whatever Rodney throws at me, I can handle it. It's time to finish this, once and for all. The doorbell rang, its chime echoing through the empty house. I took a deep breath, smoothing down my blazer before opening the door. Rodney stood there, a shadow of the man I once loved, his face haggard and eyes bloodshot. Come to beg for the house back? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He pushed past me, stumbling into the foyer. You ruined me, Jenna. Are you happy now? I closed the door, turning to face him. Ruined you? What are you talking about? Rodney laughed bitterly. Don't play dumb. The company demoted me, sent me to some backwater regional office, all because of your little stunt with the divorce proceedings. A pang of guilt hit me, but I pushed it aside. I didn't do anything except stand up for myself, Rodney. Your choices led you here. He whirled on me, eyes blazing. My choices? What about yours? You were supposed to be a wife, not some corporate shark. The old Jenna might have flinched at his words, but not anymore. I was both, Rodney. I managed our home and our finances. I made smart investments while you were busy with your affair. Don't blame me for your failings. Rodney's face crumpled. How did you do it? How did you outsmart me? I sighed, suddenly feeling very tired. It wasn't about outsmarting you, Rodney. I just paid attention. I learned. I planned for our future while you planned for a different future, didn't you? He sank onto the stairs, head in his hands. What am I supposed to do now? Carla left me. The baby. It wasn't even mine. The revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. All this pain, all this betrayal, for a lie. I'm sorry, Rodney, but that's not my problem anymore. He looked up at me, eyes pleading. Can't we start over? I made a mistake, but we had something good once, didn't we? For a moment I saw a flicker of the man I'd married, but then I remembered the lies, the betrayal, the years of putting my dreams on hold. No, Rodney, we can't go back. It's time for both of us to move forward. I reached into my pocket, pulling out an envelope. Here, this is the profit from selling the house. Half of it is yours, as we agreed. Rodney stared at the envelope, then back at me. You sold the house? But I never wanted the house, Rodney. I wanted what it represented, our future, but that future is gone now. It's time for a new one. He took the envelope with trembling hands. What will you do now? I smiled, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. I'm going to live, Rodney. I've got a new job, new goals. I'm going to be the woman I always wanted to be, not just someone's wife. Rodney stood slowly, looking around the empty house one last time. I really messed up, didn't I? We both did, I said softly. But it's not too late to start over, for either of us. As I watched Rodney walk out of the house, out of my life, for the last time I felt a mix of sadness and exhilaration. The past few months had been a whirlwind of pain, anger, and revelation. But standing there in the empty foyer of the house we once shared, I realized something profound. I was free. Free from the lies, the expectations, the stifling role I'd forced myself into. Free to be Jenna Lane, not just Mrs. Rodney Lane. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. All packed and ready? You sure about this? I smiled, typing back a quick response. Absolutely. Time for a new adventure. As I locked the door behind me, I took one last look at the house. It had been the stage for so much drama, so much heartache. But it had also been the crucible that forged me into the woman I was now, stronger, wiser, and ready to take on the world. I climbed into my packed car, the open road stretching out before me. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in years, that uncertainty felt thrilling rather than terrifying. Goodbye, Rodney, I whispered, putting the car in drive. Hello, life. As I pulled away from the curb, I felt a surge of excitement. The road ahead might be bumpy, but I was ready for whatever came next. After all, I was Jenna Lane, survivor, fighter, and architect of my own destiny, and my story was just beginning.